Bonjour, my lovelies. I hope that everybody is doing well tonight. So, what I am doing tonight is I will be reading some of my favorite recipes. And of course, you lovely people took a poll earlier on. And of course, in that poll, well, thank you, Nandor. I appreciate it. So, in that poll, although I ended quite early because Cool Frog, being the wonderful gentleman that he is, explained to me, well, you ended before you ended the poll. And the poll was that we had the Mississippi pot roast was number one. Well, at the bottom of the list. Sorry about that. Was it at the top? I think the Mississippi pot roast was at the top. Next was the fish stew. And then, of course, the brisket chili was following up at the very bottom. So, what we will do is we will work our way backwards. But of course, I'm going to wait until we get a few more people in here. So that way they can enjoy some of these wonderful recipes because they are some of my go tos. They were some of my top recipes. And I thought it would be wonderful to get input. And if anybody else had recipes, I would happily read those because some of the best food that I've had is, people say, oh, this is like the best. This is awesome. And then you taste it and it's dry and bland and there's no taste to it. There's no flavor or it's too spicy. Any number of things can sort of turn people off to any particular kind of food. So what I've got, so we're just going to start this out with some nice, easy, gentle, cute, adorable puppies. It's pretty straightforward. Didn't want to start out too hard and heavy, just throwing you a whole bunch of oh, I just ate. I don't want to. I don't want to think about food. So we're just gonna throw in a little bit of puppies to start our evening. And all you have to do is just enjoy. It's 10 minutes of puppies. I mean, can you go wrong with this? Hey, thank you, Nanda. Appreciate it.
Chama agora.
Jake, your collar.
Huh?
Oh, there you go.
Messing up my file. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Can you go wrong with this right here? That is not a dog.
Here? You like it? You hanging out?
I mean, come on. She is pushing a puppy in a swing. What could be more cute than that right there?
Yeah.
Oh, now what is this? Is this a corgi? This is a rough looking dog right here. But this puppy is going to have some fun because that cat is going to play with that cute little puppy. I mean, come on. You got to admire the balls on this guy. Balls on this guy are grandiose. He's messing with a cat that's twice its size. And he's already beat. Yeah, those are some short legs. I believe that's part corgi right there. Oh, now, come on. Come on, look at that face. Look at that face. That's high quality right there. I mean, come on. That's pretty damn adorable right there. Now this here looks like a baby basset hound. Look at those ears, look at those feet, look at those legs, the tail. That little booger, when he gets bigger, is going to have that nice deep howl. See what I said? Basset hound. He's gonna lighten up right there and get that color right there. That is a puppy right there. So this looks like either a Shih Tzu or a Lhasa Apso. A way to get your dog worked up, lady. Look at why would you do that? It is quite funny though. Oh, come on. Now this right here is a total G. Look at this. It's like, yeah, I'm just chilling up here, bro. This is like the place to be. Where would I rather be? Right here is the place to be. Well, this guy's about to get completely mauled by little dogs. Of course, all of these little dogs, by the time that they're full grown, they're probably going to weigh more than him plus about 10. Oh, hello. Adriana, how are you doing? Hey, this right here is the ultimate of being completely attacked and mauled by cute little puppies. I mean, can you say that anybody would disagree with this? Yeah, I mean they would eat him alive. Hello, rabbit. Good to see you. Yeah, he's just like doesn't know what to do because this is like love overload. Oh, Adriana, I've always looked like this. You just haven't seen all the streams. A lot of times what I do is I'll be at work, so I will actually have my camera off because although I have the beautiful colored lights behind me in the background, whenever I'm at work, it looks very bleak in this area. And I don't want to expose anybody to that. So I just give them, the horrible AI image of what they perceive to be a Shizzy Wiznut. But they don't know that this is what the face looks like. We'll change that for them. Oh, look at this little Bichon. Come on. It's like a little Muppet. It's like a Muppet. That is a total Muppet. Poor lady is about to lose it. Oh, come on now. Come on. Oh, come on. That's mama right there. Oh, look at this fluffy beast. Look at this fluffy beast. Come on. I mean, that is pretty cute right there.
And they like lemon.
It's all floppy.
You don't like it?
That is a floppy puppy. What is this creature? So vicious, so brave, so stunning. Come on. Can you resist? Can you resist? Why is she going to put it in the pot of boiling water? No! I'm kidding. She would never do that. Oh, that one doesn't even have its eyes open. That is a true puppy right there. See? Those are just recently born. Oh, come on. And those little claws are so sharp. Look at that beautiful English bulldog right there. That's what an English bulldog puppy looks like. That's how they should look. Oh, there will be more later, Adriana. Catch the replay. The recipes will be coming.
You good girl, Lisa? Are you a good girl? Are you a good girl, little Lisa?
Look at the pug.
Oh, you a good girl?
Well, that's a pug right
Good
there.
girl, little Lisa. Good girl.
Very angry. Oh my God. So vicious. Wants to kill it. Kill it. Kill everything. Oh my gosh. That is a Muppet. That is a total Muppet. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is what I wanted my dog to sound like. My dog sounds like a screaming turkey. Oh, look at this. Look at this. They just go in circles, just
Don't let the big dogs out. Do you know that
oh, come on, there you go. That's one way of getting down the stairs. Look at the colors on this one. It's like a little cat. Do that with a cat, they will lose their mind. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Natalie. Girl. the best way to get that back again, find another puppy and know that it's not going to be the same. That's how we got our dog. Oh, come on. Look at that. Oh. That's going to be a howler when he gets older. That's what mine sounded like when he was a pup. Oh, he's learning early. Yes, look at this. Oh, sorry to hear that, Roger. Oh, poor pug. Stop torturing the pug. Oh my gosh. Well, as you know, I had to read those. I had to have something to sort of fill in that bit of time. I know that you came here for the recipes. Well, tonight, my wife and I, we did a very tasteful dish, and it's very simple to make. But I'm going to save that one for later. That'll be the last one that comes up because if I'm not mistaken, that was at the top of the list of what people wanted to hear about. And I made a really bad mistake in my description of the chili. It's actually not a biscuit chili. I apologize for that. It is a brisket chili. My spelling is absolutely horrible, and I feel bad for that because I suspect you were looking at that going, biscuit chili. I will give you a recipe. It's a really simple recipe for a beautiful Sunday morning. It doesn't take much to do. It's really easy to make. All you have to have is some sausage and some bread, preferably biscuits. And if you know how to make biscuits, the biscuits, usually those hard, horrible pucks of a biscuit that you would make. And what you're looking for is a consistency that is just, as soon as you open them up, they're full of fluff. Now, I don't make biscuits. My wife makes biscuits, and she makes different kinds of biscuits. She made a mistake and added the wrong ingredient, and she made these biscuits that were hard as a rock. They were absolutely horrible, and she didn't know what to do with them, and so I made a biscuit gravy. And if you don't know, here in Georgia, biscuit gravy is like king. That is like in every breakfast morning that you're gonna find a place that has biscuits and gravy. Now, to make the gravy is what people get confused with, and they think it's really difficult, and it's not. You just get that sausage, preferably a nice hot sausage, because you're going to want to have a little bit of that heat in your gravy. And you just get that sausage, you break it up into smaller pieces, and you cook it until it's brown. Once it's browned, you're going to have your little bit of oil base, and then you're going to add some water, you're going to add some flour, and you're just going to mix that in nice and easy and slow. And you're looking for that white, creamy. I usually will use milk because it ends up being a better flavor and a texture to it, but you can use water if you're not able to use it. Oh yes, Nandor's Man Bun, absolutely. You got to have this. You have to have the hot because you want that spice in the background of it. You don't want to have it too far forward. And it is milk. I apologize. It is milk that you use. You had your milk in there, and you start heating it up, and you start adding in that flour, just ever so small amounts, not too much. Probably about 2/3 of a cup for about a cup of milk. And once you've added that in, the most important thing is to make sure that it starts to thicken. And once it starts to thicken is whenever you add your fresh pepper. You grind your pepper up in that. And you just get a nice even coat across the top of it and just keep mixing it up. Cut open your biscuit, slide it open, make sure it's hot. Ladle out your gravy. Boom. You've got like super quick, easy breakfast. And you can take that gravy, pour it into, because you're using the oil off of that gravy. That's the most important part, is using the oil off that gravy. It is off the sausage after you've cooked it off. Using that oil off of that just really makes that flour just pop. And you're just adding the milk to make it look nice and creamy. You want to have a nice, thick, creamy sauce that comes across on those buns. Yes, lady, I said creamy on the buns. Nice and tasty. Superb. Can feed you for at least a couple of days. Nothing better than that. But one of the things that somebody had asked for was my brisket chili. Okay. So let me explain. With the brisket chili, it is not slow, or it is not quick. It is not an easy, just throw together meal. Now, after it's cooked, it's an easy throw together meal, but it is an entire day of cooking. And there's multiple ways that you can do this. One that I just recently tried, only because I had the weather to do it, was pull these things off. So what I did is I smoked a brisket. Now, smoking a brisket can take anywhere between 8 and 12 hours, depending on the size of the brisket. Once you've got that brisket cooked down and it's ready to go, and I'll do a nice rub on the brisket itself. It gets wrapped in paper. That's an entirely different section. But for just the basic brisket chili without using the smoked, is the same amount of meat. It just adds a different flavor to it, adds a little bit of smoke on the background of it. And what you're doing is you're taking just a 2-pound brisket, nothing bigger than that. Take a 2-pound brisket, you're going to put it in a slow cooker, and you're going to add a single 16-ounce can of diced tomatoes. You can have any sort of flavor or spices to it, but make sure that they're diced tomatoes. You're going to put that in there, and you're going to open up a dark beer. And we're talking dark beer, a stout, or an ale that's like really thick and heavy. And you're going to add those two ingredients together, and that's going to start cooking. It's going to cook for about 8 hours. You're going to set it on the lowest setting that you've got. You're going to cook that for 8 hours. It will end up being the most tender, flavorful piece that you ever had. Now, there's two ways of doing it. You could either chop it into smaller pieces, so you end up with cubes that are about an inch square. They're going to about the size of a sugar cube. You can cut it up that way, or you can cook it whole. Either way, I've found it really doesn't matter, because at the end, after you've cooked it, you can still cut that up. Now, 4 hours into that cook time, you're going to ease out some of the best ingredients that you ever had. And those ingredients, and believe it or not, a lot of people will use this particular flavor. They'll use olive oil. I tend to cook with butter, because butter brings out a different flavor. If you're not using butter and you're wanting to use olive oil is absolutely perfect. Now, the ingredients that you have in this, and because I've half this, I may have to backtrack certain things because I've got it. I actually had to write it down because it is, I will have to read this recipe whenever I actually make this. You're going to need a small diced yellow onion, a red onion, garlic, which is about 3 cloves of garlic. I tend to use a little bit more. You're going to use diced jalapenos, poblano pepper, chipotle peppers an adobe sauce. Now, usually you'll find those in a can, and there's about 10 of them in there. And what I will usually do is open up the can, drop those into a freezer bag, and I'll freeze them because I will use the rest of the sauce and the adobe peppers later. But I only need 2 of those out of there. Red pepper, and these are bell peppers. A green pepper, chickpeas. I get usually about a 16-ounce can of chickpeas. Sometimes I'll do two cans of the chickpeas. Oh, smoky flavor? Yeah, smoky flavor is absolutely awesome. Black beans, I'll get a larger can of those. Sometimes I'll do a smaller can. Depends on the batch you're making. If you're doing a really large batch, it's going to take up 2 massive, about Dutch oven sized pots. Just imagine a pressure cooker, about that size pot, 2 of those. If you do the full recipe that I've got, I use black beans, kidney beans. But the interesting part of all of this is the amount of tomatoes that you're going to be putting in this, because it is a 28-ounce can of whole plum tomatoes. That's the whole tomato, the whole solid, juicy tomato. You're going to get 2. Well, I'll do 1 28-ounce can of the crushed tomatoes, a single 28-ounce can of chopped tomatoes, and then you're going to get 1/3 of a cup of cumin. You're going to do a 1/4 cup of dry oregano, and the other ingredients I will leave off because you've got some cinnamon that's going to go in there, and another special ingredient that really brings out the flavor of that chili. And of course, you're welcome to add tomato paste, although I've never used it because my chili ends up being so perfect that it is just succulent, just succulent. I would give the ingredients for one very important thing would be, if you know how to make a good cornbread, you start baking your cornbread about 30 minutes before this is done. Do a nice cast iron skillet cornbread, and it will just be the best topping to this. You're also going to want to make sure that you get some shallots. You're also going to want to make sure that you have some grated cheese. If those are ingredients that you don't mind having in your chili, the greens from the shallots is going to, scallions. I always get those 2 confused. So scallions, you want to get the greens from the scallions, and you're going to sprinkle those on this chili whenever you're done. You can add sour cream or any other toppings that you like for it. You can even pour this over hot dogs if that happens to be your flavor. I wouldn't suggest it because the amount of beans in this thing is so much protein that you will be feeling very full by the end of this. So basically, what you're doing is you're cooking nice and slow this brisket. At least 8 hours, you're going to add some salt and pepper to it, and you're going to put this thing in one of the ways that you can do it. I didn't because, for one, it's time consuming and it doesn't change the flavor of it, is you can cut it into cube and you can sear it, throw a little bit of flour in there with it, and you'll end up with just all of it cooked up, maybe a little bit of brown to it, and then you're going to throw it in your crock pot. One of the things that I do is I will cut it up into smaller pieces, and I will just put it in the crock pot in smaller pieces. I've also done it as a whole brisket, putting it in there. But whenever I do the smoked brisket, because the brisket is already smoked, it only gets added in about 30 minutes before I actually do the chili. After the brisket is cooked for 4 hours in your crock pot, you're going to add your oil or your olive oil, which would basically jalapeno cornbread. Oh yes, there you go. got a little bit of spice to it, a little bit of kick to it. You're going to take that nice mixture of oil that's in the bottom of your skillet. And like I said, I'll usually use butter, and I usually use a little bit more than a teaspoon. I'll use probably about 2 to 3 teaspoons of butter, just some salted butter, chop it off, melt it in the bottom. And I've already got my onions diced up. I've got red onions and I've got yellow onion. And I'll chop those into just nice little small pieces, throw it in the bottom, and stir it up until they're starting to get just that perfect amount of caramelization. You don't want to have them cook too much. It doesn't change the flavor. But if they cook down too much, you don't get that little bit of bite in the background of it. And then I'll add my peppers in there. The poblano peppers don't cook down as fast as like your green peppers, your red peppers, your yellow peppers. I'll usually add some of each into my recipe. And those will all be chopped into about the same size. Doesn't hurt anything. It's more for a visual. And I give all of that a stir. Once I've got that caramelized, I add in some garlic. I usually keep just a little jar of garlic because I don't want to sit there and be dicing up garlic. Doesn't change the flavor of it. It just changes where you're getting it from. The flavor is still the same. Stir all of that in until you've got just this nice mesh of nothing but peppers and onions in the bottom. And it's just getting a nice little glaze to it. And as soon as I've got it to that just perfect temperature where everything looks great is whenever I start adding in all of the tomatoes. I add in all of my beans, and I just make sure that all your beans are drained off. Don't drain off the tomatoes because you're going to want to have that acid to it. But first thing I do is add in my tomatoes, give that a nice stir, and then I start adding in all of the beans. Once I've got all of that in there, I will add my oregano, my chili pepper, which I think I had it in here. I'm pretty sure I did. My cumin, and damn, I don't see that I actually have it down here. Ah, there it is. It's 1/3 cup of chili powder. So it's quite a bit of chili powder that you're adding to this. And that's going to give you your chili flavor. Add all of that in, stir it up. You end up with probably about 4 quarts of actual tomatoes and beans, and stir it. And just let it cook for the next 4 hours. Like I said, really, this is a pretty much hands-off piece. Every so often, you go up, scrape off the bottom, make sure that nothing's sticking too much because those beans will break down and they'll start scouring up the bottom. Nothing to be concerned with. Maybe once an hour, go up and just give it a nice thing with the spatula as you ease it across there. Now, once you've gotten all of that cooked up, you add in that entire mixture from your crock pot, which you're going to have a mixture of beer, you're going to have your brisket, and you're going to have your tomatoes that have started to break down almost entirely. They sort of soak up some of that juicy flavor from the beer, a lot of the oil that's coming off. Pour all of that into your mixture that you've got that nice big pot of nice spicy chili. And it tastes good at this point, but it's not quite done yet. Because once you've stirred all of that nice mixture in there, you're running up on the very end of your cook time because this is an 8-hour cook day. You're going to want to add your cinnamon in there. But the topping that makes it all the best is that nice dark chocolate. You're going to drop that dark chocolate in there and it's going to start to melt. You're going to just stir that in. Once you get all of that dark chocolate stirred in there, all the flavors completely change. That little bit of cinnamon, that little bit of dark chocolate changes all of the flavor. You're done. At that point, you have made yourself the most delicious brisket chili that you've ever tasted. You're going to have that for weeks on end. You can freeze it. Doesn't matter. throw it into the microwave, heat it up. What I'll usually do is I'll just take a couple of nice big scoops out of that, throw it in a pan, and I'll reheat it on the stove in a small pan. Any which way you do it, you're going to end up with the most delicious brisket chili that you ever tried. Now, the second one on my list, and I'm sure that Darth Hideous is going to be disappointed if he doesn't watch this, because he was interested in my quick and easy fish stew. Now, there's a few things that you have to get before you do this. One is the fish, and I use a very specific fish from a very specific place. Not saying that you have to do that, because there's different options of fish that you can use for this one. The fish being, you can do a halibut, a cod, a red snapper, or what they call a sea bass, another one that they call a sea bass. But me, personally, I prefer to use a tilapia, because a local place where I go to, I can get frozen tilapia, and it can remain frozen for days, months on end, because it shipped frozen, and all I have to do is unthaw it 24 hours before. That is the smoothest tasting. Cod tends to be a little bit hardier, so you have to cut it in smaller pieces. You're going to want to chunk your red snapper into just smaller pieces so it breaks down a little bit better. If not, it just takes too long to cook. The ingredients in this actually call, and I don't know why everybody started doing this, but they're using more olive oil. Maybe it's cheaper. I don't know. It doesn't have the same flavor to me. There's certain things I'll use olive oil for, but this one in particular, especially if I'm sauteing onions, I don't like using olive oil. It takes away a lot of the flavor that I'm looking for. So I'll use butter. I use about 6 teaspoons of butter. And I'll get that heated up until it's nice and warm, and it's no different than the way that I do my chili. You're looking to break down those onions so you get just the tenderest part of it. You're giving that little bit of caramelization. Have diced onions that I put in there, and I get those nice and just the easiest cook on them. You don't want them breaking down too much, because the next step is about, 2/3 of a cup of fresh parsley. Now, you can either use Italian parsley or your regular parsley that you would use like as a garnish. But you're going to use 2/3 of that, and it's going to be chopped up into very fine pieces. That parsley is going to cook in there, and I've got the cook times on that, which is really good. So your onion, they say about 4 minutes, and you're going to add garlic to it, usually about a couple of teaspoons of garlic or 3 large garlic cloves, and you're just going to have those chopped up, minced. Throw those in there. And the parsley, once you add that in, it's about 2-minute cook on the parsley itself. You're going to add tomato, which there's 2 ways of doing the tomato. You can add either a whole tomato that's been chopped into small pieces, or you can use a can of tomatoes. Either which one works well. It's basically adding the acid to the flavor of the entire meal. Once you get that acid that's in there, it changes all of the dish itself. You get your sugars from all of that caramelization of the onions. Once you add those tomatoes in there, you're adding acid, and it will actually kick down the amount of acid because of the sugar from those onions. Once you've added that part in there, you're going to cook that for about 10 minutes until you've got it nice and hot. Usually about 10 minutes is perfect. You're going to add some clam juice, about 8 ounces of clam juice. Now, if you're allergic to shellfish, You can use any sort of stock for that, like a fish stock will work fine. About a half a cup of dry white wine, something like Sauvignon Blanc. Now, usually we'll just use something that we plan on drinking with our dinner. Doesn't really matter. Any kind of white wine is going to go really well with this. You're going to take your clam juice, about a half a cup of dry white wine, and then you're going to have your two, what I use is tilapia. So I don't have to worry about cutting them into smaller pieces because they're a very thin fish, almost like a trout. And you'll throw those in there and let them cook all together. Now, once those have cooked, usually it's about 3 to 5 minutes. Basically, all your fish is going to break up into smaller pieces. You'll be able to easily flake it off. You won't have any large pieces of fish. You're going to add salt, pepper, oregano, and thyme. All really easy ingredients. You're just looking for a pinch of thyme, a pinch of oregano. I tend to use a little bit more because I enjoy that flavor, that taste, the amount of oomph that it brings to the entire dish. But the best part about it is the Tabasco, because the Tabasco is going to bring that little bit of heat into the back of your mouth that's going to light the entire dish up. And you're only using about a teaspoon of it. Me personally, I like a lot of Tabasco, so I will load up on it for me, especially if I'm ladling this out into a dish for my lovely wife and me. It's going to be her amount, which she doesn't like that heat, and mine, which I get that nice spicy bit of Tabasco. So I might have a teaspoon just for a bowl for myself. But that little bit of spice is going to come out, and you can flavor it to taste. If everybody likes that little bit of spice, you just want to have just enough to have the flavor. Of course, you want to have a crusty bread, because that crusty bread is going to mop up a little bit of that extra juice. It's going to help it break down in your body. You're not going to have to worry about the acidic aftertaste of that. A little bit of salt and pepper. Ladle it out in a bowl. And the cook times on this, and this is no joke, it's 2 minutes once you've cooked, 4 minutes for your onions, 2 minutes for your parsley, 10 minutes for your tomato, and then 3 to 5 minutes once you've put your fish in there. So in under 30 minutes, if you do a little bit of your prep ahead of time, you end up with a meal less than an hour that's going to feed you for a couple of days. Just nice, easy meal. That's one that both my wife and I have been pleasantly surprised with, that we've enjoyed immensely. Now, there's other recipes that I do that involve lamb. The lamb is one of the easiest to do. Now, a lamb, the best part about it is it is a red meat, but it's very tender. So you're going to end up with very tender, juicy meat. And what this requires is 5 lamb chops. I usually use the loin chops, some kosher salt, butter, garlic, and fresh thyme. So before you start cooking, probably about a half an hour before, put them on a paper towel, pat them dry with the paper towels, and then you're going to season them with salt and pepper. This is a dry rub that you're doing. You're going to heat a 12-inch cast iron skillet. Now, this is very important. If you don't have a cast iron skillet, one of the best ways to cook a lot of meals is using a cast iron skillet. Easily cleaned, easily seasoned. Don't let them rust. You're going to place the chops on the fat side. And you're going to use your tongs to keep them nice and balanced. You're going to cook them on that nice, easy side where that fat starts to sear. You're going to flip them over until you're getting the other side. You're going to cook that for a couple of minutes, and then you're going to lay them on another side if you have one available. Sometimes the bone won't allow you to do that. And you're going to lay those down so they're nice and searing. The amount of cook time on this is so fast because you want to have those chops nice and rare. You don't want to go too well done on because they start to toughen up once you do that. Once you flipped them over on the other side, you're going to get any lamb fat that you may have left over. You're going to want to try to remove that from your recipe. If you don't have any lamb fat on there, you're absolutely fine with that. You're going to take your butter or ghee. You're going to add your garlic and thyme to that mixture. Going to give it a nice, gentle stir. Looks like everybody's gone. Give that a nice, gentle stir so you end up with that beautiful buttery flavor. And you're just going to spoon it over the meat. And then you're going to just keep doing that until it starts to sear. Once it's seared, pull it off, set it on the side, and you've got a nice, easy, gentle bit of lamb chops. I usually will serve those with a side of Brussels sprouts, a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette, a little bit of spices added to it, maybe add some soy to it and some sriracha. Cut those in half, put those in this cast iron skillet that I just cooked all of that lamb in, sear those up, a little bit of beef stock, and you've got a nice, easy, gentle meal. Well, amazing. Looks like I scared everybody off. Sorry to see that. I was just getting ready to show the good stuff. Okay. Well, in that case, if nobody is actually interested in those meals. Oh, hey, Rabbit. I just was looking and I didn't see that anybody was actually there, so I was a little concerned. I was like, oh, well, I think I scared everybody off. Wasn't my goal to scare everybody off. It might be the face. But that being said, I always appreciate having you in here. And what do we got? Does food feed the belly or the soul? Oh, we got 80% are saying that it feeds the soul. We've got 20% says it feeds the belly. Well, Rabbit, I will tell you that there are some wonderful recipes out there that a lot of people have not tried. And I like to try lots of different recipes. I will try just about anything as far as food goes once, at least once. my wife loves like clams and mollusks. She likes the shell, like oysters. That's the one I was thinking of. She loves to have oysters. Me, I've tried it once, didn't like it. Oysters isn't my thing. She knows it, but she'll still order it. But I've got other meals that I enjoy cooking. One of the things that I found in meals, it doesn't have to be difficult. It can be the most simplest meal it's more in the preparation. You get that enjoyment from a little bit of flavor that just comes out unexpectedly, and that you're making this dish and you're putting a little bit of love, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of thought into what you're making. I'll make eggs in the morning. Wife, she'll do something else. Usually she'll do some sort of yogurt and berries and peanut butter powder, but that's her quick and easy meal. My quick and easy meal, I might take a piece of bacon, cut it in half, throw it in a small skillet, sear it up, use a little bit of that bacon fat to cook my egg. Might throw it on an English muffin, or I might just have it by itself. Nice, over easy, not over light, not sunny side up, not over hard. But whenever I do break the yolk, I'll usually make it hard, throw it on a piece of bread if I want to. It doesn't run all over the place if that's what I'm looking for. Maybe I'll cook it up with a little bit of ham, but just some of the simplest little bits, like getting some garlic thyme, not thyme, but garlic cloves. I think that's right, garlic cloves. My wife she's the greenery, but these have just this little taste of garlic to them. So cut some of those up, and as the egg is cooking, you get that nice white on the bottom, and it's all wet and runny on the top. And I take some of that and sprinkle it across the top, give it a nice flip over. It heats up all of those little pieces of the garlic chives. I think that's what it is. You get the garlic chives, and those will heat up on the backside of it, and then they cook into it. A little salt and pepper. You've got like something that didn't take much time to make. That's just easy on the soul. It is a good way to start out the morning. And you add a little bit of bacon to it. Sometimes I'll do ham. Sometimes I won't do any meat at all. I'll just cook an egg up. Just nice, easy meals. Breakfast doesn't have to be, oh, beautiful. Have a herb garden in your laundry room. That is so ideal. An herb garden in your laundry room is probably doing really well, because it's just, you get that amount of heat in that particular room, a little bit of moisture, and I'm sure that those herbs are just growing great. Well, I guess it does depend on what kind of herbs you're growing. And if that's what you're doing, if that's what you're growing, I'm sure that breakfast always tastes wonderful. I'm kidding, Rabbit. I'm messing with you. But I will say that breakfast doesn't have to be the best part of your day. Sometimes a quick, easy lunch, I'll get some herbs of Provence and a chicken breast, cut it into small pieces. Not really small pieces. I'll usually fillet it, cut it into a smaller piece, maybe quartered. Wrap it in a little bit of cellophane, your saran wrap. Hammer it out until it's flattened out. Sprinkle some herbs of Provence on there, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, very little salt and pepper. If I do any at all, throw in a little bit of butter in the bottom of a small skillet, throw that in there, and I'll heat it up on one side till it's cooked all the way through. It doesn't take long because it's flattened out, maybe about 4 minutes at the most, just until it's cooked through. Throw it on a piece of sourdough bread, add a little bit of mustard if you want, some tomato if you want, some lettuce, another slice of bread, and you've got a quick, easy meal that is, it'll get you, if you didn't, like a lot of times I'll skip breakfast, so skip over some breakfast, do some of that for lunch. It is food for the soul, and that is one of the things that I think everybody should have. Cooking is your hobby. Absolutely. Should be. Cooking should be everybody's hobby. I think that men, especially men, should learn how to cook. And the reason why men should learn how to cook, it's not because, they need to be self-sufficient, great men. That's part of it. But if you know how to cook, you know what tastes good to you, and you're able to explain it to a woman that might be wanting to make something for you. Because 9 times out of 10, women enjoy cooking just as much as men do, because food is something that everybody has to do. Unless you're like in a hospital bed and you're intravenously fed, then maybe not. But generally, you're going to have to eat at some point in time. And if you don't know what you like, you don't know the food that you like, you don't know the flavors that you like, how are you going to tell somebody else? How are you going to tell somebody, yeah, I like my steak rare? If you've never cooked one yourself, are you doing a rare steak because that's what everyone told you, that, you need to be a man, you need to order a rare steak? Or maybe you don't like the texture or the flavor of rare steak. Maybe you'll like it a little bit crispier or more seared. Cook it at a higher temperature, but you still like the rare, so you can sear that meat until it's just blackened, but the inside stays nice and red and pink. You won't know that unless you learn how to cook. My suggestion is men need to learn how to cook. And the reason they should is they know what tastes good to them. And it's a little bit like sex. If you don't know what you like, or you know what you like, but you don't explain it to your partner, and that doesn't matter what, I'm not talking about kinky or anything, but being able to explain it to your partner and say, I like it when you do it this way. You're sure in that. It's not a, I don't know, just do whatever you want to kind of thing, and we'll just try this new thing out. Sure, if you want to try something new out, that's a little bit different. I understand. But if you know what you like, and you know what's gonna feed your soul, what's gonna make you absolutely happy, if you can explain it in cooking, you can explain it in the bed. One of my wife's friends, and this is whenever my wife and I were dating, probably about 4 years before we got married, 2 years before we got married. She had one of her high school friends was getting married, and she was one of the bridesmaids. And they had a girls' night out bachelorette party, which was basically just at home getting completely rip-roaring drunk. And one of the things that I told my wife, which was my girlfriend at the time, I said, well, what is your plans? Said, we're probably just going to stay here so we don't have to go out and drink and drive. They're all, they're not freshly new 18 or 21-year-olds. They're, professional women moving, through the world as professional women would do. And I said, well, I will tell you what, as my gift to your friend, how about I come over and cook breakfast for everybody? She's like, yeah, okay. Sure, if you want to. I was like, cool. I'll be over there. What time is a good time? I said, well, we're probably going to be up drinking all night. So, it's whenever you get there. I said, well, how about I show up between, 8 and 9. They're like, oh, then, yeah, that'll be fine. We'll be up and about by then. So I show up. I've got eggs. I've got bacon. I've got some bread. Got a little bit of some various jams and jellies. And come in. And I asked how they like their eggs. Some of them were scrambled. Some of them were over easy. Some were more over medium. Some of them were like, I don't know. I said, well, I can make you an omelet. An omelet, okay. Cool. So a little bit of mushrooms, a little bit of cheese, a little bit of green peppers. Boom, boom, boom. Chop it all up. And I made these 8 ladies that were having this bachelor party, all rough and haggard looking, probably way too much alcohol the night before. Sat down, cooked them up all a nice breakfast, and they were appreciative. They enjoyed it, and it fed them, got rid of their hangovers. And all that I was doing was just being nice. My wife did not forget about this, of course, because for her bachelor party, that's what she wanted me to do, is cook her breakfast the next day. Unfortunately for her bachelorette party, I was in Las Vegas for my bachelor party with a friend of mine, a few friends of mine, actually. All the groomsmen, my best man, flew us out to Las Vegas, put us up for the night, and we had a wonderful night. Or I should say a wonderful 3 nights, because we wined, we dined, we partied, and we were probably all in bed and asleep by at least 10 o'clock at night, except for me. I hit the tables at the Bellagio and didn't do too bad the first night. But I did cut off at about midnight. One of our friends managed to basically go until about 3 o'clock in the morning, lose every freaking penny that he had, although he swore that up and down that he was up the whole night. I mean, like money-wise, he was up the whole night. But he was more than proud to tell us at midnight and wake everybody up that he lost every bit of money they had, probably all about $300 or $400. So it was an interesting time. I think it was most interesting because I developed Bell's palsy just a little bit before that. So the whole side of my face here was limp. I couldn't close my eye, and I couldn't really talk correctly. They thought I was chewing tobacco. Yeah, it was really interesting. I just told them it was my poker face and made jokes about it, because it was, if you've ever had Bell's palsy, just look at that video of was it Bieber? Yeah, I think it's Bieber, where his eye doesn't quite close and he's looking around, he's closing one eye, the other one stays open. Yeah, I had to wear an eye patch at night, put in eye drops, and not fun. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but yeah, found out it was just some sort of viral infection. Happened. This was 2 weeks before my wedding, and it was cleared up by the time that I got married. I could smile straight, of course, but that's how it goes. But I don't know what kind of tangent I got off on, but I did manage to find, because I was looking for something, and I thought, what would be the most interesting thing to tell to these lovely ladies that would give them some of the best meals. And I did a quick search because, I didn't know where to look. I know what I like. I know what my lovely wife likes. But what do you ladies like? What do you gentlemen like? What kind of food? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Rabbit. And you should have taught your son to cook. And I hope that he appreciates every damn bit of it, as he should. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to remove my face and put this god-awful face up here. Like that. It looks scary, looks evil, looks horrid, but let you know, this right here is nothing but like weird emojis all the way around. And this person, who in the hell knows what he is carrying? But this was an AI generated piece. And I thought I liked the colors, the contrast of colors. I think I like this one. I'll keep this one here. But what I wanted to share, and I'll do it here with this, is they asked some chefs what the sexiest dish to make on Valentine's Day was. I was like, well, you got to tell me, because I would like to know what the sexiest dish on Valentine's Day is. Of course, all these different chefs, now I may not be able to pronounce their names or say certain things of the actual ingredients. But this gentleman right here, Slaventa Giretti, is who took this wonderful picture right here. But Timothy Malcolm wrote this really interesting story. He says, for the first Valentine's Day ever I spent with my now wife, I opted to spend an entire Saturday cooking a 7-course meal. There was something with lamb, but that's all I really remember. The whole experience was a blurry mess, and I undoubtedly had a long way to go before I could consider myself a decent cook. We enjoyed the dinner, though if I look back today at what I cooked, my blood would probably curdle. I don't believe that for a second. But hey, it's the thought that counts. That's the point. Also, you can and will do better if you opt to cook dinner for your partner this Valentine's Day. Maybe think like the best chefs. We asked some of the top cooks in Houston what they'd cook for their partners, aka the sexiest dishes for Valentine's Day. And these are their answers below, and you can print them out if you like. Pan-seared scallops have always worked for me. It works well with either mushroom risotto or English peas. That's from Jason Gould, executive chef at the original Nifa's Uptown Houston. Coronza con salsa de petales de rosa, or basically quail with rose petal sauce. Delicate and very delicious. For another chef, for me, it would be dessert. This one we will do. It totally is a white chocolate raspberry mousse on a pistachio, I can't say that word, but decas, with raspberry sauce and pistachio ice cream. Another chef. For Valentine's Day, I like lobster ravioli. I appreciate a connection to my ancestry in the ritual of mating flour to water. Through the whir of the dough hooked through the mixer, the scattering of flour, the rhythm of the knead, and even the turning of the handle as I roll out the dough. I feel a connection to the past and generations of cooks. It's a story told over and over. And on Valentine's Day, it's a love story. Another, it's whole Maine lobster, Fria Diavolo with spaghetti pepperoncino. His wife likes it spicy. It's not overly heavy. Fresh tomato, garlic, chilies, fresh pasta. That accentuates the flavor of the pasta. All the ingredients are cooked and tossed together very quickly. John Buchanan says, the sexiest dish I could make for my wife would be lasagna, simply because it's her favorite dish and I rarely make it. I think I've only made it once at home in the 10 years I've been married. Whatever dish my wife enjoys the most, it makes me happy to make something for my wife that she truly enjoys. Seeing her enjoy the food I specifically made for her is sexy. Another chef says he would make braised breast of duck in red wine and sherry reduction sauce. I've always loved to cook for my wife, and over 36 years of marriage, you can imagine he's been blessed with the opportunity to do it many times. Through our love affair of food, we started celebrating our anniversaries early on in New Orleans, and at one of our favorite restaurants. It was our 5th anniversary. They enjoyed the most wonderfully memorable duck dish there. Needless to say, the rich dish, and beautiful company have been inspiring me ever since. Coming up with new ways to prepare one of his wife's favorites has always been a treat for him. And keeping it casual. Josh and I usually take the opportunity to lay out blankets and enjoy a charcuterie board of meats and cheeses. Done heart-shaped mozzarella and tomatoes for a special caprese presentation. Bottle of choice for the celebration is a Le Fin du Monde because, well, there's nothing more special than being with the one you love at the end of the world. Is that not super cheesy or what? So Haley and this gentleman, Philippe Rico, they have a Valentine's tradition. Usually after a hard shift, they get Whataburger, patty melt, a few orders of fries, and a ridiculously good bottle of champagne. And of course, who can forget the morning after? It's the pancakes or eggs Benedict. If they stay until breakfast, you did something right. Well, if you're married to that wonderful person, of course they're going to stay for breakfast. That is the best part of waking up with Folgers in your cup. Yeah. Anyhow, I appreciate everybody that's come in. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I hope you enjoy some of those recipes. At some point, I'm sure that I will have a more thorough recipe reading. I know that tonight is going to be a short stream. It was a wonderful day today. I got to spend time with my lovely wife, and I'm blessed to have her. She made the mashed potatoes for that wonderful pot roast. So a Mississippi pot roast is really simple to make because this is my last recipe of the night. You want to get about a 3.5 pound chuck roast. Use the chuck. Don't do brisket. Chuck is going to be perfect for this. You want to get about a 3 to 3.5 pound chuck roast, and you're going to put it in a slow cooker. You're going to take and get some of that nice, juicy, like Hidden Valley Ranch. And you're going to open up that little package. You're going to pour that thing across the top of that beef. Then you're going to get a package of au jus. You're going to open that little package up and you're going to sprinkle it across the top of that wonderful piece of meat. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take about 8 teaspoons of butter. You're going to cut it in nice, thin, small little pats. And you're going to stack that all across that nice, juicy piece of meat. Then you're going to get 6 pepperoncinos of nice little jar, just pepperoncinos. Shake out that juice. And you're going to lay those across those little pats of butter, that little bit of meat, that 3.5 pounds of hungry beef. You're going to lay that out. A nice, pretty pattern. You put the lid on it, set that bad boy on low, and you're going to let it cook for 8 hours. It's just going to make the house smell glorious. When you're getting ready to make the best part of all of that, you can either use potatoes or rice, or if you prefer nothing at all, I suggest doing the potatoes. You get your red potatoes. Don't peel the skins off them. You want that little bit of tang that those skins are going to give. You're going to cut them into smaller pieces. And you're going to boil those potatoes until they've gotten, just nice and tender. You can poke them with a fork and they're ready. They're ready to be mashed. You're going to lay those out. Either you can drain the water off of it, or you can leave the water in the container and steam yourself some broccoli afterwards. But those potatoes need to be mashed, and they need to be mashed right away. Once you've got those potatoes nice and soft, you're going to add some buttermilk to them. Oh, just not a whole lot of buttermilk. You want it to just moisten. Add some, if you don't have buttermilk, some sour cream, some butter, and some regular milk will be just satisfactory. It will ease, just make it nice and soft. You like that, huh? Once you've got your potatoes nice and mashed, you're going to lay those potatoes out in a nice little, not quite a soup bowl, but more like a dish. You're going to pull out those nice large chunks of meat and lay those out on your mashed potatoes. And you can garnish it with that bit of broccoli that you added a little bit of pepper to, a little bit of salt, a little bit of red pepper flakes, and lay those out on the side of it. And you've made a wonderful dish that you can enjoy for a few nights. Warm back up, and it'll warm your heart. Oh. I hope that everybody enjoyed this little bit of recipes, because this was for you tonight, ladies. I don't think the gentleman would appreciate it, but I'm glad that you could come in and enjoy a little bit of some of my favorite foods. Now, I've got plenty of other recipes because, like I said, a man has to learn how to cook. Once a man knows how to cook, he can tell a woman what he likes to eat. I hope you all have a wonderful night. And I'm going to leave you. I'm glad you came, Andrea. I appreciate it. I'm going to leave you with, this is actually 2 turtles. Now, these 2 turtles are actually mating. And if you watch long enough, you'll notice that the gentleman is trying to get some action. And the way that he's trying to get some action is very interesting. When I actually recorded this particular piece, yes, this is something that I recorded. This turtle was really trying to get it on. And there was a gentleman in the background going, "Come on, baby, don't leave me like that. Why would you want to do me like that? Come on, come back to daddy." That was the original. I couldn't really play it because it got a little dirtier. That gentleman was really having quite a time with those turtles. But I will leave you with the exotic sounds of two turtles.
Exotica.